All right, what's up, guys? My name is Sebastian. This is Sebastian Uncensored, the channel where I talk about everything that's on my mind with pretty much no filter, at least to the extent that I won't get banned off YouTube. This is about philosophy, current events, geopolitics, finance, business, dating, all of the stuff that I have learned over the past, I'd say, 12, 13 years of being a legal adult, and just passing it on and really, if anything, speaking to my former self through this screen 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when if I knew then what I know now, my situation could be so fantastically better. So I'll give you a quick rundown on who I am, and then of course you can have at it and check out the myriad videos I have on this channel. I'm born and raised in Vancouver, Canada. I say that, but I'm actually from a city called Surrey. It's not too far away from Vancouver, but nobody really knows where it is if you're not from the country. I am, as of the time of this recording, 2026, I'm 30 years old. I'm turning 31 very soon. And I've been living outside of Canada now for just about 6 consecutive years as a permanent non-resident of the country. I did leave in 2014 when I was 19 and I went to China. I got a scholarship from one of the universities in Canada due to scholastic excellence, specifically in Chinese classes. My professors recognized that I had a real passion for it, as well as an obvious, what would the word be here? Just an obvious knack, an obvious talent for picking it up. Affinity, that's the word I was looking for. And so they gave me an opportunity to go to Shanghai for a year, which turned into 4. And I got another scholarship afterwards called the Chinese Government Scholarship, which was a fantastic opportunity. And no offense to China or the government or anything, but I took advantage of it and I stopped going to classes after about 2 or 3 days. And I just ended up partying and having fun, and it was the time of my life. But anyways, I came back to Canada in 2018 in the winter, in December. And thank God I did, because of what happened just slightly over a year later with this beer bug issue. And so with that said, I was not going to accept just being locked in the house and cowering in fear. I decided to take matters into my own hands and just fulfill my dreams of becoming an entrepreneur. And so I did. I started a home service cleaning business where I was doing pressure washing and window cleaning, gutter cleaning, all these kinds of exterior cleaning services that you can imagine. And it was making pretty decent money. It was fun. I quite enjoyed it. And yet, at the back of my mind, I was thinking, this is great, but I don't really want to be here. One thing that you're going to recognize from some of my videos, and a lot of the things I talk about on other social media, is how much Canada as a country has deteriorated. And it's extremely obvious to me as someone who has not been out of the country for 6 years. I want to clear that up. I have been back a number of times to see family, but it is plain to see that the people are sick, that they're struggling, and that the native stock, if you will, the white Canadian, is effectively being replaced. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy reality. Like, a conspiracy is something that people have gotten together to conspire about. I'll make individual videos about this later. The fact is, I don't want to be there. I don't recommend that anyone who has an ambitious bone in their body, who values their autonomy, who values personal freedom and financial success and just overall happiness in life, to condemn themselves to staying there. That's not what this video is about. Anyways, I ended up going to Mexico on a one-way ticket in 2020 because I wanted to fulfill my next major ambition of becoming an online entrepreneur, making money on the internet completely. And I absolutely did achieve it. It has not been easy. There have been a lot of ups and downs that were completely unprecedented, and that most of the gurus will never, almost never, completely share with you, because their brand typically revolves around presenting the very best version of themselves, a curated, highlighted version, so that people are drawn into this fantasy and they aspire to it, and they end up giving them money for some lackluster coaching service that never actually gets them any results. Ask me how I know. Anyways, I started to make an income, a half-decent income on the internet, and I wasn't struggling in Mexico anymore, but I did for a little while. You can see my videos about it. And then I started to make a pretty good income from the internet, especially living in Mexico. And then it started to dip and then go up and then dip and go up again. It was never 100% consistent. But here we are in 2026. I'm in Mexico still. I have a pretty interesting setup here. As you can see, I take what I do pretty seriously as a professional because there is still a lot of money to be made, and it is continuing to yield more and more opportunities every single year in this online space as more people get into it. People are under the impression that, oh, it's saturated. There's so many people trying to do it. Yeah, but how many people actually follow through? How many people actually can stomach the risk of leaving their W-2, or if you're outside of the US, their cushy 9-to-5 government job or private sector job where you get a salary, you know exactly how much is going to be deposited into your bank account and on what day of the month. You know, if you're a single person, it's a lot easier to take that risk. If you've got a family, certainly it's going to be a little more difficult because they're depending on that income most of the time. In any case, I was not going to live anything less than what I know I could achieve. I was not going to settle. I didn't need anyone to externally motivate me to do that. I just knew from an early age. I mean, I think I was starting to read entrepreneurial and business-related material when I was 16, 17 years old. All throughout the time I was in China, I was absolutely enamored with some of these bloggers from the early 2010s who figured out how to make money by writing on the internet and then selling different kinds of services, either directly of their own or as an affiliate for someone else. Anyways, again, fast forward to 2026, here we are. I'm working in remote sales. I'm doing a couple of different things at a time. I'm in the process of starting a real online business, getting actual registration and what have you for it, and taking this online entrepreneur thing like a life or death situation, because it pretty much is. Because once you cross over, once you pursue this lifestyle, you really can't go back. You look at people working what they consider to be a good job, and you start to recognize that it's kind of an oxymoron. And nothing against people who like their jobs. And jobs have a very important place in society, especially in terms of being an entrepreneur, because usually you get a job and you earn capital from the job and you use that capital to fund your ventures until one of them takes off and replaces that income. It's pretty straightforward, although some people do it differently, and maybe they have support from their family, or they're just extremely tenacious and they do not need that much income at all from a typical job to get something going. Anyways, that's what all these videos are going to be about. It's going to explore everything that's happened, everything that I've learned, and you're going to see inside my mind. And my intention, not my hope, my intention, my ambition is that within a few months, if not, I would say about a year, you're going to come and see these videos, you're going to come and see this intro, and you're going to think, holy, like he's come super far. Even now, when I reflect back in the last 4, 5, 6 years, I think to myself, even though I'm still quite far from where I know I can be, I have come extremely far. I have really weathered the storm and taken risks, and just gone through a lot of shite that most people would be completely destroyed by. They'd be squashed. They wouldn't be able to handle it. They wouldn't be able to handle living in the barrio in Mexico on, $250 rent a month with, some months where you were barely making $500 or $600, or where you were arrested for no reason, or you were almost assaulted, all this crazy stuff. that a lot of typical Canadian, American, English, whatever, they would never be able to handle. They would immediately book a flight back home and return with their tail between their legs. And I got through it. I lived in China, I've lived in Mexico, I've been to Colombia, I've been to Belarus, I've been to all sorts of different European nations, and I have a lot more on my list still to go to, but it's been a ride, and at age just nearly 31, the ride is still just starting, which is quite crazy to think about. So I'm glad to have you with me. It's going to be fantastic with you along.